Alright, this is Josh Rubin from East West Healing and Performance. Still a little sick today, but I wanted to get something out there. I want to talk about activating your core. People want to work out, train their core. First of all, I hate that word. Number one, no one knows what it means. No one. You hear trainers say, oh, you're working your core. Oh my God, when you do this exercise, you're working your core. And then you have people say, well, I want to work my core. When I do an exercise, I want to work my core. Or I have doctors refer people to me with shoulder problems and they say, you have to get your core stronger. That's what's going to make it go away. You have to get your core stronger. Well, the question is, what the is the core? Most people don't even know what it is and they're talking about it. I hate that word. The bottom line is if you didn't use your core, you couldn't even stand up. You'd be a pile of mush. You're using it all the time. When you breathe, you're using it. So please stop using that word. Please. Unless you know what it is, stop using it. Okay? The bottom line is, I'm going to get a little technical on your asses, okay? The core is muscles in your spine called the multifidus, your pelvic floor, your diaphragm, your transverse abdominis, your internal oblique. Kendall says your external oblique is a functional lower abdominal, okay? Some say the deep erector spinae are part of your core, okay? So I call it the inner unit, but people call it your core. Those are your muscles. That's where movement begins and ends. Helps decompress the spine, prevents compression, shearing, and torsion in the low back when you move. That's what the core is. Now you know, okay? How do you activate it? Well, the bottom line is if you can't breathe properly, you can't activate your core. Most people want to activate the core or train their core when they work out, right? The inner unit. But if you can't breathe properly, you can't even activate it. You're beating a dead horse. The bottom line is this. The TVA, the pelvic floor, and the diaphragm are in the same neurological loop. When you inhale, you diaphragmatically breathe. That is through the belly, not through the chest like most people do. And if you breathe through the chest, you're not activating your diaphragm, you can't activate the TVA. Same neurological loop, okay? So when you inhale, the viscera go up and down in the stomach or in this cavity here in your abdomen. The organs go up and down. They create a hollow cylinder because you're inhaling, right? Technical, ready? Well, the diaphragm attaches on L2, L3. So when you inhale, because it lifts L2, L3, you decompress L4, L5, the vertebrae. So you decompress the vertebrae. So when you inhale, that's called intra-abdominal pressure and diaphragmatic breathing. You lift L2, L3, decompress L4, L5. Then when you activate your belly button by pulling it in below, which activates not only the upper abdominals, but the lower abdominals. There are neurologically lower abdominals from the belly button down. You actually cause traction in the low back through the thoracolumbar fascia, was like the transverse abdominis internal oblique attaches to the fascia in your low back, and it creates a traction force or a slight extension force. So when you move, you're decompressed, and you have stability basically. Okay, that's how you activate your core. So if you can't breathe properly, you can't work your core. So instead of all these trainers trying to work people's cores, they need to be cleaning up people's diets, testing for food intolerances with labs, and working on people's respiration. Because if you can't do that, you can't activate your core. Secondly, most people have pelvic floor dysfunctions. Why do we have pelvic floor dysfunctions? Well, I'm going to go a little crazy here and name a bunch. Okay, you can do the research on why. You can have pelvic floor dysfunctions from poor training, habitual training, do the same training all the time. Using machines, not actually using your TVA by training on flat surfaces all the time. Having weakness in the hips, the hip rotators, the adductors, certain leg stabilizers. Okay, having weakness in the core can cause a pelvic floor dysfunction. Overuse of machines, we already mentioned that. Poor cueing, being taught how to work out improperly can create an inner unit, a core dysfunction. SI joint problems, which is a sacroiliac joint, and there's numerous ones, can cause a dysfunctional pelvic floor, weak inner unit, weak core. Any type of inflammation in the back, facets, disc, nerve, bones, muscles, skin, fascia, scar tissue, vascular. Any of these things cause inflammation, can shut down the pelvic floor in the inner unit, destabilizing the low back, causing low back pain, and numerous things. Okay. Other reasons: weight belts. Weight belts encourage faulty recruitment, overload L5, S1, cause shearing, overload the SI joint, and basically inhibit your inner unit, a core, from working. Okay. Other possible reasons: childbearing, of course, C-sections, episiotomies, traumatic accidents, and psychological disorders pretty much cause pelvic floor dysfunctions and inner unit dysfunctions. So if you have any of those and you're trying to work your core, You're focusing on the branch, you're not focusing on the root of the problem. Why isn't the core working? Well, I have a disc pathology. It can go either way, but I'm just giving you some insight to figure out, all these people say, I want to work my core, but they have so much else going on that's causing the core not to work. And we're focusing on the wrong places because core is such a buzzword. Okay? So if you have any of those, work them out. Okay? The other big thing I find is constipation. Most people are constipated. If you're not taking a 6-inch nice formed poop every day and it feels good to go poop, then you're constipated. If your stool is anything but well formed, you're constipated, you have a gut dysfunction, who knows what's going on. Okay? Take a look in Paul Chek's book, How Do You Be Healthy? He has a poopy lineup. It's pretty amazing, and most people are constipated. And I'm telling you from assessing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients, most people are constipated. If you're constipated, basically you're getting auto-intoxication. You have waste in you, and your body's sucking water out of it to feed the central nervous system, to feed your body, but it's toxic water. Okay? Secondly, which is basically auto-intoxication. It's one of the reasons why people have an autoimmune disease. There's many, but it's one of them. Secondly, anytime the feces goes into the colon, it stretches the colon, so it activates receptors to basically cause the colon to relax so you can release the poop. At the same time, the colon actually works in cahoots with the pelvic floor to relax so you can go to the bathroom. But if you have a dysfunctional inner unit, an episiotomy, or any type of dysfunctional pelvic floor, a lot of the times the pelvic floor becomes hypertonic and it won't relax because of a weakness in the pelvis somewhere, or a weakness in the transverse abdominis, a weakness in the SI joint, or because you have an episiotomy or something. So the colon actually can't shut down and it can't relax. So you have constipation. Okay? But at the same time, if you're constipated and it's shutting the colon down so you can go to the bathroom, right? But you have a dysfunctional pelvic floor that won't relax because of an episiotomy, then you could be constipated because of it. So the bottom line here is, if you're constipated, if you have gut inflammation, okay, if you had an episiotomy, if you have any things I talked about, a respiratory problem, you cannot activate your core. And most people are constipated, okay? It actually sometimes shut down the pelvic floor, okay, because of a law called Hilton's Law, okay? And you can look that up, look up what that law is. So you have all these people trying to activate their core, but they're constipated, right? They have guts, which if you have a gut, you're not going to activate your core. It's impossible. It's actually lengthened with a gut. Okay, the muscle gets lengthened because the TVA, transverse abdominis, which is the major muscle of the core, holds the organs in. Right? So it's lengthened when you're pregnant. It's lengthened when you have a gut. The same time, if you have gut inflammation, any type of leaky gut syndrome, dysbiosis, you're eating canned, boxed, wrapped foods, foods in plastic, foods that are made of chemicals. I mean, look at most foods nowadays. There's no such thing as a Pop-Tart tree, guys. Wake up. Okay? All that stuff causes inflammation. If there's inflammation, your core runs right over these organs. It's going to shut them off, which causes destabilization of the low back and the pelvis, causing pain. And we're wondering where this is coming from, right? Is it the pain or is it the nutrition? So, bottom line is, you want to work your core, work on your respiration, clean up your diet, work on some respiratory techniques, right, with your trainer. 2, if you're constipated, clean out your gut, okay, because you can't activate your core if you're constipated. It's impossible. And 3, clean up your diet, because if you have gut inflammation, you can't activate your core, right? Like I said, pelvic floor, TVA, diaphragm, same neurological loop. So if one's not working, the other's not working, okay? So the bottom line is here. Everyone in our society is so used to looking at the symptom, which is the branch, right? If you look at a lot of my clips, I tell you to start looking for the root of the problem. And this is a prime example, okay? Prime example. Fad is working on the core. Well, the bottom line is that's the branch. Take a deeper look into what is causing dysfunction, and I guarantee you in a short amount of time, you'll have increased vitality, weight loss, and decreased pain. Thanks for tuning in. April 1st, happy April 1st. If you have any more questions, give us a call. Check out our website at eastwesthealing.com. We do a lot of long-distance consulting. You can sign up for our free newsletter on our site. Tune in again. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.